Positive production externality, it means a spillover benefits to the third party, which simply means that the production of certain good or service has created a benefit to the society. So the marginal social cost is lower than the marginal private cost. Do you get the point I'm making here? It's production. For production, we're simply going to talk about marginal social cost and marginal private cost. When the marginal social cost is greater than the marginal private cost, it is a negative externality. But in this situation, the marginal private cost is greater than the marginal social cost. Does it make sense here now? So there's positive external, there's spillover here because the cost of production to the individual that produces the product is higher than the cost for the society. And that is a positive spillover. So what happens afterwards? Because the cost to the individual firm that produces it is higher, it means they won't be able to produce as much as they want to. Do we get it or not?
Yes.
Firms only want to produce where their cost of production is reduced. But the situation here is that they are producing a product that brings more benefits to the society. But in the course of producing a product that brings more benefit to the society, they are incurring more cost. Because their marginal social cost, the marginal private cost, is greater than the marginal social cost. So at this point, governments have to intervene. So government intervention on products that will bring about positive externality should be what? Subsidy. Because when we talk about products that bring about negative externalities, government uses taxation, right?
Yes.
Because the marginal social cost of producing such products is greater than the marginal private cost of production. So government wants to correct that market failure by imposing taxation. That is for marginal private cost to be equal to marginal private benefits. So the point here is that there's marginal social cost which is lower than the marginal private cost, which means firms will not be able to produce as they are supposed to produce. The allocation of resources will be minimal because the cost of production is higher. So look at what I wrote here. Positive production externalities applies to a positive spillover benefit as a result of production. Goods that create positive production externalities may as well have a higher price, which may bring about a market failure. So there's higher price because firms are incurring more cost than what they are supposed to incur. Despite the fact that they are producing a product that gives a positive spillover to the society.
Sounds about incurring cost because, for example, some vaccine types are very cheap to make. Sometimes it's about the lack of profit sentiment. There's no reason to produce because there's no way to make it to make a profit. If the people expect them to cheap, so it's when such a high price, they won't make profit.
Well, yeah, I got it. What?
That's why sometimes they don't produce more.
To produce more, that is the point. Producing more.
Yeah.
Because it is a product that gives a positive spillover. In as much as the society benefits more. Because the society is benefiting more, that is why the marginal social cost is lower. If it's a product that does not benefit the society, we won't bother to get there. But in as much as we all like the product, we all want the product, the supply will be lesser than the demand. So demand will be contracting. Sorry, demand will be expanding, while the supply will be contracting. Because it's giving us a positive spillover. But for firms, how would they be able to cope producing more? They can only be encouraged to produce more if there is subsidy. So look at it here. Look at it from this perspective. The market equilibrium is at P1. This is where the firms are producing and selling at this point. Because this is marginal private cost. The supply. The price is P1. The equilibrium is P1, Q1. That is the equilibrium. Yes or no? So this is equilibrium. P1, Q1. This is equilibrium where we have our marginal private cost. So the product we're talking about is a product that gives a positive externality. And because it gives a positive externality, it has to be supplied at this. So there's positive externality because the marginal social cost is lower than the marginal private cost. Firms will not be able to produce at this point. To encourage them to produce, we need subsidy. Do we get it? There's positive externality when the marginal social cost is lower than the marginal private cost. The marginal private cost is at P1, Q1. Firms need to produce more of these goods. That is where government intervention comes in. That's the topic, government intervention. There is positive externality based on the fact that the marginal private cost is greater than the marginal social cost. But firms cannot produce at this point. They need to be encouraged to produce at that point. The market equilibrium is P1, Q1. But for firms to produce where the marginal social cost will be lower than the marginal private cost, they need subsidy. And that is the only time the price will fall from P1 to P2 and the quantity will increase from Q1 to Q2. So this is how subsidy would help a firm that is producing a product that will bring about positive externality. So at this point, our MSC is same as MPB. Marginal social benefit equals to our marginal social benefit equals to marginal social cost. That's efficiency. Do we understand or not? There is a positive spillover, which simply means the third party are enjoying the production of other firms. So that brings about the marginal private cost exceeding the marginal social cost. The market is at equilibrium where P1 equals to Q1. This is the market, this is a firm. Because the cost to the firm is marginal private cost. That is the cost to the firm. But when we think about the people, the society, to produce where the society will be benefiting from the production, firms, government needs to encourage firms. And to encourage firms, they have to use subsidy to reduce the cost of production. To reduce the cost of production because it's a financial error from government to encourage production. So the point here is P1, Q1, which is market equilibrium. But P1, Q1 is the marginal private cost for the firm. Government needs to encourage firms to produce more. And to encourage them to produce more, government has to come up with subsidy. Subsidy will increase quantity and reduce price. Then at that point, our MSC will be equal to MPB. So the marginal private benefit will equal to the marginal social cost at this point because government has subsidized. But firms cannot produce where they have a greater MPC than the MSC. They will produce to sell at a higher price. But for them to sell at a lower price, government has to come up with subsidy to reduce their cost of production. And that will increase consumption, that will increase the quantity supplied in the market, and that will reduce the price. So this is how subsidy will help firms that generate positive spillover. Is it clear?